Welcome back, everybody. Our first presentation with Jamie was so just enlightening, and I hope that you benefited from it as much as I did. For our second session, I want to just remind you that all of your CE information will be available at the end of the presentation today. And if you're having any issues with sound or with video, try refreshing your browser and see if that helps. My name is Melanie. I am co-host of the First Case podcast and also your perioperative clinical manager from Beyond Clean. And I'm happy to be your host today. And remember to, on your screen, you've got a resources window with all the information from Proper, our sponsor, also a Q&A window and a speaker bio where you can find out more about our speakers throughout the day and how you can get in touch with them. Our second speaker today is Brooke Elliott. She is the founder of Be Complete Coaching and Consulting. She is a certified mentor coach who partners with motivated individuals and organizations to make meaningful change, fine-tune strategies, and increase performance. And Brooke is a positive mindset and leadership development expert driven to empower others to activate their potential, continuously grow, and fully live and lead. Her presentation is entitled The Positive Effects of Continuous Learning. So when an individual activates learning continuously, especially towards their passions and legacy, this can lead to multiple positive effects in both personal and professional life. Brooke will introduce various exercises to activate continuous learning, various learning paths, and the ways it can lead to greater self-fulfillment. She's going to be engaging you during this whole presentation. That Q&A box, just like in our last presentation, is going to be really important. Make sure you're ready to engage, to comment, to answer her questions, and we will have a really fully just involved discussion during this next hour. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Brooke Elliott.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I so appreciate that introduction. And I'm so happy to be here and honored to be a part of the speaker lineup today for this conference. This is a fantastic opportunity, and what a great presentation that Jamie gave. I mean, it was just a great segue into this presentation, and I'm hoping that you learn just as much from this one as you did with her. And again, we'll continue this growth journey that we have set up for you today with the positive effects of continuous learning, a pathway for continuous growth. Just a little bit about me. Melanie presented my bio and what we're going to be talking about today, but I do want to just say that I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I am a mother of one son and a wife of 5 years, and I am recently a coach, started my own business, and my purpose is to help individuals fully live and lead. And when it comes to that, part of that is the continuous growth idea and really helping people understand what that is and how they can activate it in their lives. So today's agenda is first and foremost, what is continuous growth? And really, how does it relate to continuous learning? How can we activate continuous growth? And what does that process look like? What are the benefits of continuous growth in our lives, and potentially how that can spur through our lives and create positive effects? There's additional research that I'm going to be covering, and at the end of the day, it all begins with you. And I'll be sharing how you as an individual can begin your own continuous growth journey. And of course, offer some examples so that you can see and maybe even come up with some of your own examples through seeing those journeys. And I encourage you to please engage in this presentation. I'm going to be asking you, just as Jamie did, to present some examples or thoughts that you have. So I'm very excited. Okay, so first and foremost, what is continuous growth? When you think about continuous learning, right, it's continually learning something new. Continuous growth means, excuse me, you're in the process of doing that throughout your life, and it means that change is always occurring in the individual. It's when an individual possesses positive energy and growth due to their intentional activity and motion, of continuous learning, and something that interests them. And it's maintained unless that activity and motion changes. So if you think about it, that might actually trigger a thought that, hey, that sounds like something familiar. Well, you can think of maybe kinetic energy, right? Kinetic energy is when we actually have an activation of our potential. And kinetic growth is when we activate our potential in the form of learning, and that growth continues throughout our lives. So what problem are we really solving here? Like, why are we interested in continuous growth? It could be because maybe we're feeling stuck. Maybe we have the question in our mind of, what does the future hold for me? Maybe there's a lack of direction, and maybe there's something missing, maybe a piece of the puzzle, but you just don't know what that is. Maybe it's that you're just not feeling as happy as you believe you could. This all comes into play with what's called the growth mindset. And you might have heard of that, growth mindset. You may have heard of Carol Dweck. She's a psychologist, and she's done a lot of research on neuroplasticity in the brain. And it is broken up into two different things, beliefs and then effort. And in beliefs, you believe that you have the capacity to learn and grow when you have a growth mindset. You believe that failure and failing is actually valuable to you, and that you can do something with failure. And you are in control. You have the belief that you are in control as an individual, and that you have the ability to set the stage for the future. The second piece of growth mindset comes in with effort. That means you activate something. You're taking action. That means that there is that motion and activity happening. And that's when you're focused on the process of actually improving as an individual, improving yourself, but also embracing those challenges that you face, embracing them with that positive mindset that there's a reason it's a challenge, there's a reason there may be failure, but always with the foundation of improvement. In addition to that, there's something called positive intelligence, which actually also, it takes into consideration the imposters that we face. I know that was brought up in our last presentation. And when you have that imposter, just as Jamie said, you're looking for the opportunity, the great things that you are as an individual able to do. So that is really all that's encompassed in continuous growth. Again, it includes the opportunity and the willingness to be vulnerable and fail forward, and finding the learning in each action that we take. And one thing about all of this is that it does not have to be vertical growth, right? So when we think of growth, maybe say in a professional setting, a lot of times people think that growth means that you have to be in the next position. You're growing because of a promotion. No, continuous growth is actually growing both, could be horizontally or vertically, but it's also that mindset. And I hear that there might be I see that there might be an echo occurring. I'm hoping that stopped. So let's talk a little bit about a continuous growth process. Now, when you look at this slide, I want you to notice something about this slide, that there is a circle, right? We're going to take it clockwise around the circle. What that means that this is a process. It is a journey, okay? It is a map of discovery. If you still have some paper and pen available from the first presentation, let's go ahead and use that again, because throughout this presentation, I'd like for you to start taking some notes, okay? So one thing that I also want you to do really quickly, probably if you have a piece of paper, is to start to draw some dots just randomly on that piece of paper. Just literally start to place the dots all in different places, okay? And then I want you to take your pen and connect those dots just randomly, okay? I wanted you to do this so that you can have a visual, okay? I want you to have a visual of what this continuous growth journey and process could actually look like, okay? It is not a linear process. Again, it's a cycle. It is a journey, and every single person is different. So you might have, you know, your dots and lines might go all over the place, and that's okay. Okay, we are not looking to, you know, change our world all in one step. So what is that first step? The first step is curiosity. As an individual, being curious about yourself. And I love the fact that Jamie just talked about strengths and how we can utilize and leverage our strengths, because that is part of the first step, is being curious about those strengths. What is my why? What am I here for in life? What do I want to be remembered by? What is it? What is the footprint that I want to leave? This is the first step. Being curious about your interests and desires and fulfilling a legacy and deciding the path forward to discovery. What does that entail? We'll get into that in a bit. The second step is discovery and clarity. So once you're curious, it's actually taking that action. It's activation of what you're curious about. It's the actual action of discovering your values, strengths, talents, passions, and the possibilities that go along with all of those things. This is it's part of this journey map that is exciting. This is going to give you some information about what newness there is in your life, what can be, and really start activating that growth. And the investment, the next step of investment, it's adopting a growth mindset and taking that action, right? So you're actually taking action towards fulfilling one's legacy or your legacy. It's actually immersing yourself in those new experiences and high challenge activities and ultimately changing your behavior, right? So you've taken the time, you've been curious, you've taken the time to actually discover yourself, and now you're going to do something with it. You are investing in yourself in the way that feels right to you based on the things that you've learned about yourself. And in this, I want you to think of it as like your life and your world is your oyster. Be willing to crack it open and explore and find the many pearls that lie within it that maybe you've never discovered before. Again, it is a lifelong journey, and this investment it takes effort and it takes belief, right? It takes that growth mindset. And then what are the results of a continuous growth process? Well, reaping the benefits of continuous learning and growth and experiencing fulfillment in every action. And what I'll go into next is the true benefits of taking this action and experiencing and exploring your own continuous growth process. And it's pretty amazing. So there are many benefits to continuous growth. And, you know, when this all came about for me, I was very excited about this because it really gives you a sense of the possibilities of the human mind, brain, right? It really connects what continuous growth can do to you as an individual, mentally and physically. There can be extreme positive effects when you activate continuous growth. So, the first is that it can increase brain health. There's lifelong continuous learning can help improve plasticity, which is the brain's ability to reorganize itself through its environment, behavior, thinking, and emotions. So that's a lot, right? What that really means is that there can be a positive effect on the way when you activate your potential. And when you're taking new action, you're learning new activities, you are embracing new challenges, your brain is actually starting to reorganize. It's starting to make new pathways. It's starting to build new neural pathways, which means that you're basically opening up your mind. And when you're doing that, you can actually increase your mind. It has an effect on what we call the hippocampus in your brain, and it actually can make it larger. And when it makes that part of your brain larger, it actually allows your brain to continually gain more capacity to learn more, which is really interesting concept here. It also gives you the ability to have a longer memory and recover from challenging or traumatic events. Think about all the things that we as human beings experience in our lives that can be very tragic, traumatic, and maybe even those really challenging things that we do. When we invest in ourselves in continuous growth, we have the ability to be resilient to those things, and we actually begin to want more of being out of our comfort zone because we see it as an opportunity and we know the benefits of it. Okay, just making sure I'm going through all the chats here. Okay. So with also continuous growth benefit is improving your mental health. Simple acts such as practicing a new activity, engaging in a new challenge, learning a new skill, it can actually reduce your stress level. Again, it will open your mind and it can increase satisfaction and fulfillment in a human being, but also your happiness. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's interesting because when I engage in new challenges, I'm very stressed sometimes, sometimes I don't want to, I'm sweating, I'm experiencing anxiety. Well, this is where that growth mindset comes in. When you activate your growth mindset and you see the opportunity and the positive of every challenge and you practice that, that's when you can see a switch. So you're experiencing the growth of your brain, you're learning a new activity, and you're also very embracing, what can come from that. Even if you see it as a failure, maybe you experience a new challenge and you walk away saying, really wish I had never done that before, or never engaged in that activity. I'm going to learn something from that and I'm going to keep going. Well, that is part of that journey map, right? We don't always go in a linear fashion, in linear direction. Sometimes we have to take a couple steps backward to take a couple steps forward. Okay, so I see some maybe questions about chat information here. Let's see. Just want to make sure that I'm being mindful of any questions or thoughts that are coming in. And of course, please, if you have any, feel free to engage. And then the last part here, and the second to last, is it increases your options, right? When we go through continuous growth, and we engage in it, it's increasing your skill set and experience, but then that gives you individual choices, right? It gives you the opportunity to make the conscious choice and decision of what you will do with your time. Now that you have explored many different things in your life, then you can decide, well, I want to engage in that activity, or, I've tried that before. And I learned what I think I needed to learn from it. Let me do something different. And the great thing about this also is that it's known, continuous growth is known to lengthen your lifespan because of all these great things that it's doing to your mind and body. And I also included the quote at the bottom because a lot of times we talk about heart health, right? And the fact is that brain health is just as or more important than heart health. While exercise is critical, it may actually be education that is more important. In the 21st century, education and information may become more become for the brain what exercise is for the heart. Okay, so here we've got just a little more research on the effects of continuous learning and continuous growth. And I thought these quotes were interesting to really provide more context and, more information about what's out there around continuous learning and continuous growth, because it is a highly researched topic. The first one is there's a large and persistent relationship between education and health, and suggests a year of formal education can do more than can add more than 6 months to your lifespan. It's very interesting that education and health can add more than 6 months to your lifespans, right? So engaging in activity and education can have an effect on how long you live. And the more educated you are, the lower the rates of anxiety and depression, as well as chronic diseases. Now here, when you think about education, it could be, again, learning new things, engaging in new challenges. Education can be lots of different things. And then continuous lifelong learning can increase your longevity and improve the quality of your overall health. Okay, so I'm not seeing any additional chat messages. I'm not sure if I'm missing any here, Melanie, but
no, there's nothing else in the chat. The chat's good. So
okay, good.
You are good to go.
Okay, wonderful. Just wanted to make sure. And again, throughout this presentation, feel free to make any comments, and there will be time for you to actually answer some questions that I'll have for you. So your brain is like an ecosystem. It is complex. There are many moving parts that contribute to one's overall function. The key here is that it is resilient. It is known that sometimes when there has been a traumatic, maybe accident or something that has happened to the brain, that you can actually, there's opportunity to actually regrow it and make new connections, which is amazing. And it can continually grow. So everyone has the ability to expand their experiences and thinking, influence reactions, and ultimately expand your existence because of it. And new brain cells, as we were talking about earlier, the neuroplasticity, it can be spurred through learning new skills and exposing oneself to new environment and experiences. So now what? So it all begins with you. It begins with knowing yourself, right? So we talked about that process, that cycle of the process, where we saw the circle in the previous slide. It's building greater self-awareness, confidence, self-compassion, and it's foundational in making the proper investment towards your legacy, right? So we want to make sure that we're really understanding who we are as individuals, and what's important to us. What are our desires? And, be like taking that key and putting it in the door, to open it and really explore a little bit more about ourselves, so that we know and we take intentional steps towards our growth, right? So I guess my question could be here is like, have you ever decided to take a course, and maybe you didn't give it much thought, but you took the course, and at the end you thought, well, that was good, but I'm not sure that it really excited me. I'm not sure that it resonated with me as much as I would have liked it to. My question back to you would be, was that course really in line with your desires, your interests, right? And were you spending your time intentionally there? Could there be opportunity to think through a little bit more what opportunities exist that would be more exciting to you, where you can utilize your strengths, right? Where it's in line with your values potentially and your desires. There's myriad of possibilities that we'll go through. So growing yourself and is investing in those new experiences and learning resources that are aligned with your passions and desires while seeking life balance and harmony. And again, as we go through this throughout our lives, it is not a linear journey, right? It is a continuous cycle. There are going to be times when we decide that what we've done, say, in any educational opportunity that we take advantage of, that, hey, that was not exactly what I expected it to be, but what did I learn from it? And what can I do with that learning to fuel me towards more learning that is really more in line with who I am as an individual and who I want to be as an individual. So that is really around the defining, connecting, the intent, the refining, understanding our purpose, and really understanding ourselves and what we want our lives to look like. And then, of course, that brings in the fulfillment, the happiness, and satisfaction that we can experience from those activities. Okay, so let's talk about how we can do this. How do we start to activate these types of things? So know thyself by exploring your values, strengths, talents, passions, and possibilities. And I really would love to see some engagement from you all starting here. So again, when we start to do these things, we are opening our mind, right? We're opening our mind to the possibilities. And even in this particular process, where we're knowing thyself, we're getting to know ourselves better, that is actually beginning the process of increasing that neuroplasticity, right? Because we are learning. We are getting exposed to things we've never been exposed to before. So even in Jamie's presentation, there's great possibility that you were increasing your neuroplasticity because you were learning things that you had never been exposed before. So let's talk about some of these. So the first one is various exercises. When I say that, a lot of the things that Jamie presented were exercises that you can take to learn more about yourself, your strengths, right? You can learn about your values. There are things called self-SWOTs where you learn about your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Even meditation is an exercise where you can learn more about yourself, right? You can be present with yourself and mindful, and you have time to reflect really about what you're doing, who you're being. But this is where I'd really like to see, what other exercises have you done that potentially has given you greater understanding of yourself? I'd love to see if there has been some action around this. And this might flow over to the various assessments. So maybe this one will maybe jog your thoughts a little bit better. So we've various assessments. There are lots of different ones out there. For example, we have a Strengths Finder, a Clifton Strengths. I know many organizations adopt that as a learning opportunity where you're learning about your strengths by taking an assessment. Practice deep meditation. Oh yes, absolutely. Meditation can have such a great effect. The Myers-Briggs, that's an assessment right there. It's a personality assessment that is very well known. A lot of folks have taken that one, as well as the Enneagram. And wow, I love the chat message here. The whole experience is broadening your understanding. Absolutely, right? This entire conference is giving you a platform to learn so much more about yourself, right? And to do something with that. Let's talk a little bit about some more assessments here. We have character assessments. There are talent assessments even, right? So if an individual, say an undergrad, is looking to identify what career path they should take, there are lots of career assessments out there. Again, personality, there's even imposter syndrome assessments that you can take. And all of these assessments give you the open mind to who you are as an individual gives you perspective. Oh, our company offers meditation every other. Wow, that's great that your organization actually supports that. DISC assessment, that's a great one. The DISC plus values assessment also is fantastic. Okay, we got yoga and meditation, wonderful. The next one over here is the support system. So knowing thyself is, again, exploring yourself through various exercises and assessments, but it's also gaining a support system as you start your journey of continuous growth. I would love to hear from you all of why you think a support system is helpful. And I'll give you a couple of reasons. The first is because a support system can help you take action, right? A support system can hold you accountable to what you said, is important to you, but then it can also help you activate this process. So a support system is very important for you to actually continue your journey. You can imagine your journey without a support system and with a support system. And I think we all prefer to have people around us that are cheering us on. Any other reasons why a support system might be beneficial in this process? Any other thoughts there? Absolutely. Push you through when things get tough. Yes, that's so important because things will, undoubtedly get tough, right? And we can always activate our growth mindset and our positive mindset, but at the same time, it always helps to have people around us that are doing that and helping us as well. It can help you overcome, yes. Mentors provide great feedback on how you're doing. It boosts confidence. Absolutely. A support system will do that. And the support system can look many different things, right? Mentors, coaches, teachers, friends and family. When you have a great web of support in many different areas, the chances of you continuing this process is, it increases. So it's very important that you have that support system. And again, how to activate that is to actually, once you've learned about yourself, and once you've learned about yourself, then you want to start to put it out to the world, put it out to your support system, communicate it so that they can support you. That step is very important, is letting people know what your intent is. And I absolutely, helping with accountability, like a life coach, gauging and managing your way through each step. Mentorship is a great way to measure your daily progression or lack thereof. Thank you, Mark. That was great. And everybody else that's commenting, fantastic. So let's move to the research stage. So, you've got these various assessments and things that you can do to learn about yourself, but then what? How do you know what next step to take? Well, that's where the possibilities come in. Of course, there's Google, right? What can I do with my talents of XYZ? What can I do with my strengths of XYZ? What do people do if they're interested in XYZ, right? Or have a great conversation with your family and your friends. What do you see me doing? This is important to me. Do you think that, helping others, I'm not sure what I can't come up. We'll go through examples in a couple of different slides, but once you identify what, say, your action and your legacy is potentially in life, maybe it's helping others learn more about themselves and activate their potential, right? So once you've learned that, you want to communicate that to others, and you want to do research on how can you take action towards that. What does that look like potentially, right? You want to engage in that activity so that it broadens your mind and it opens your mind to the possibilities of what activities you can actually do, right? You don't want to just pick the first one because, then that's really just kind of, you're not really broadening your mindset there and looking at all the different possibilities. You want to do your research. It's very important. Okay, so grow thyself by choosing high challenge activities and experiences is the next step. So step 1, know thyself. Step 2, grow thyself. There's many different ways to start doing this. And Mark has another great comment of networking with those who have been down the path already. Absolutely, building your network. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second as well. So learning a new skill, education and training, right? That is absolutely an opportunity. Joining a new group. There are lots of possibilities out there for joining new groups, going to new places and traveling and engaging in new activities. So this is where you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and expanding your mind, right? So not so much the things that you've already experienced and you've already done. This is something new. You want to, again, expand your mindset. You want to start increasing that neuroplasticity. Give your mind the opportunity to engage in new challenges. Now, it says high challenge activities, but at the end of the day, anything new can be considered a high challenge. I will say, take what we've learned through the pandemic, right? And having to live in a virtual environment. I would say, how many hands, right? How many people on this in this call today were thinking, oh my goodness, I have to start doing meetings virtually. I have to get used to that. I have to get comfortable with that. You are actually building neuroplasticity by engaging in those new activities, right? So think through that and pat yourself on the back. And when you thought of that as a positive activity versus maybe saying negative, that's truly that growth mindset. That's when we see the actual change in our brain. So how does this learning fit into my growth and legacy map, right? We want to make sure that all the things that we're doing to grow actually fit in to that map and that process. And how does this piece of the puzzle contribute to my strengths and values or align with my strengths and values? And I would love for you all to take that piece of paper and start to write down some of these things that might resonate with you individually based on where you see yourself growing, how you see yourself continuously growing. Because there will be a question at the end of this presentation that I would like to hear from you on. Okay, yeah, you didn't want to lose the face, and it was nervous. Everybody was nervous about that virtual environment, but it really did put us out of our comfort zone, right? And we fought through it. And then I'll also talk a little bit about the new places and travel. So there have been many studies done on, say, like taxi drivers who had to go different routes. And actually, they were able to prove that the hippocampus of the taxi drivers actually grew larger just because of the fact that they were going different places, right? So that's really not, you wouldn't think that's high challenge, right? At first, you're going to be a little nervous, right? You might be out of your comfort zone. But simple things like that can have a great impact on us. So I'm going to go through some examples, and of course I'm mindful of time. Learning a new skill, right? So these are just some examples, and I want to hear from all of you on some other examples, maybe that you've participated in yourself, or maybe others that you're considering. Process improvement could be a new skill that you want to learn or that you've learned. Employee management, maybe you're interested in being a leader. Meeting management, that's a new skill. How do we manage meetings, and what does that look like? And how can we actually take action on that? Technical writing, coding, project management, strategic leadership, even understanding and practicing an elevator pitch can be a new skill, right? Because it's opening up your mind to something that you've never done before. And then how do you actually apply that in your life? Like, when would you use say a long version of an elevator pitch when you would use a short version of an elevator pitch? And all of these are activities that we can engage in that are part of continuous growth. I even put putting, golf. That could be something that you've never done before. And it includes, it requires us to think differently, right? And pay attention differently to different things, as well as maybe photography as a new skill. Any other thoughts on new skills? Okay. No? Let's go to the next one then. Let's see what we have here. How about joining a group? Here are some examples. So Toastmasters is a great group to join because then you're really learning how to give public speaking, spontaneous presentations. That gives you the challenge of being face to face with individuals potentially, and speaking on topics that you've never spoken on before. That's definitely continuous growth activity. Public speaking, right? Professional organizations, such as Professional Women in Healthcare, education and certification groups. I think of like supply chain certifications, lots of different certifications out there, based on the industry. Employee resource groups, potentially within organizations or even outside of organizations. Obviously, networking groups. I know that came up before. Maybe a specialty skill group, a workout group even, right? So maybe there's a very challenging workout that you've always wanted to do. That's definitely putting you outside of your comfort zone. And that's it's giving you the opportunity to learn something new, right? And that may not exactly be in line with, say, what your legacy is, but there's definitely benefit to that, right? So it's, any learning, regardless of the fact of if it connects directly to your legacy, is going to help you improve as an individual. The name of the group for spontaneous public speaking is Toastmasters. Yes, absolutely. Mini credentials, Beyond Clean mini credentials. Great. That sounds wonderful. Maybe joining a board. A board is a great opportunity to learn from peers and to gain perspective, but then to also advise, and then creating maybe a creative skill group. The next one is going to a new place or traveling. And it really truly does help with continuous growth. It expands the mind. And you can think of this one as, right, the stress relief. That new experience, that new visualization, really being able to see something new and gaining that perspective helps us in many different ways as individuals. Some examples, maybe visiting a manufacturing plant, seeing how things are done, to produce a product. And, that really opens your mind, especially if you're interested in growing in that area. Attending a conference. There's lots of different benefits of attending a conference, right? It helps with networking, maybe getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe there's speaking opportunities for you. Visiting a client, another country, a group outing, a mission trip, a peer, any other travel examples that you have. Again, the taxi, just going a different route. That's a great question, is how many of us actually decide intentionally to take a different route somewhere because it's something that we've never seen before. Maybe try that. Maybe that's something that we can take action on after today, is trying a different route going somewhere. And as we're going through these, please write down some of the possibilities for you as an individual. The last one is engaging in a new activity. So we've talked about self-discovery activities, right? Learning about yourself, knowing thyself. There are many out there that will definitely open your mind to the possibilities, as well as, who you are as an individual, and really gives you the insight into potentially what you want to focus on. Volunteer activities. Those are great activities to be involved in. Outdoor activities, sporting event activities, creative activities, even mind activities and self-care activities like meditation are great examples of engaging in new activity. Any other thoughts on new activities that we can engage in that may give us new perspective, be a new experience, open up our mind to something new? Thoughts? Bird watching. Oh, I love that one. Hiking in a new park. Oh, want to take dance lessons. Oh, these are all great. Yes, absolutely. I say go for it, right? Take those dance lessons. Family book club, that's great too. Absolutely. And that would give you lots of perspective, around it, and it gives you the ability to appreciate, right? And to show empathy towards others as well. So when you think of these activities, think about what you'll be learning as you do these activities and how they might connect to your personal journey map. Absolutely. Okay. So now I'm going to take some time to go through a couple of examples, and this is really going to wrap up our presentation today. And of course, as we go through these, be thinking of any questions that you might have. I do have 3 examples, and these are just for you to, again, expand your mind in terms of the opportunity that could be for, say, a particular individual based on their legacy and what is meaningful to them. Okay, so this first one is an undergraduate who has a is working on a marketing degree, and they're in the process of actually going for their first position. So, if we're to ask this individual, what is your legacy, as based on who you are today, right? Because we know that our legacies might change based on what we learn about ourselves as we go through life, but then also, as we gain these new experiences. And at this point in time, it could be helping businesses and individuals better communicate to establish valuable partnerships that contribute to cost-effective solutions. So that could be something that they're working towards. That is their legacy. So the first step is, again, that curiosity. That's the activation part. That's when we really want to start to activate that kinetic growth. What path might be right for me? What should I take into consideration? Who am I as an individual? The discovery and clarity for this particular individual could be that they took a values exercise and a strengths assessment and even a career assessment, right? Because they're graduating and they wanted to ensure that their first entry role really made sense. And that career process exercise where they went through, say, understanding which companies might be better connected to their values, their strengths, and the positions, right? Their strengths, and where they see themselves in the future. So that investment this individual was willing to make based on what they learned about themselves was they invested in a career mentor because they felt that, having that support system was important as they went into this new world, this new journey that they had never stepped into before. They decided to take career prep courses. And, this could look like many different things, but they maybe decided to work on some soft skills that were important to, say, an entry-level role where this individual saw themselves in the future. Entry-level professional development would fall into that as well. Employee resource group, something that they might have decided to do as they entered a new role in the organization so that they could become, they start networking with other individuals and to really start to develop their own brand as an individual. And he decided to start taking Toastmasters to have greater public speaking opportunity and join an economic council. And everyone is going to look different, right? What they decide to do. And all of these things don't have to be professional. They can be and personal investments. It can be things that you do outside of your work journey, because all of these things are going to, help us become who we're meant to be as individuals. And it would continue to gain experiences that are meaningful to us. So it doesn't always have to be something in the professional realm. And then as a result, this individual found a fulfilling entry-level role, high performance because of those professional courses he decided to take. He had an outstanding communication based on that Toastmasters experience. And they also had a desire to continue that self-discovery and personal investment, right? Because what we've learned is when we take that step and we embrace what we learn and what our experiences hold, then we want to continue to learn more. And really, it's happening in our brains. As our brain gains capacity, we want to fill it, and we want to continue to do that. And he was open-minded to what the future could bring. Reading positive affirmations, absolutely, I love that one. That goes right in line with, again, what Jamie's presentation was about too, right? Really understanding ourselves, self-care activities, skating and hula hooping, absolutely. So fun. And if it's something that you're also really not good at, but you want to get good at, right? It's practice. Okay, so next one could be a product manager. And here, this individual is curious. And in the discovering clarity, zone here towards their legacy of helping individuals live their best later years, they learned through strengths and character assessments as coach presence and additional self-discovery exercises, and potentially a role change within their organization, that they needed to invest a certain way. And the way that they started to invest in themselves is they started to take LinkedIn learning courses. They invested in leadership training and coach training. They actually decided to have a board presence. And here they took some very specific training, and then 75 Hard is a particular workout and brain exercise that has you doing challenging things. And again, it brings about new experiences. And in all of that, this individual saw fantastic results. They started their financial advisory business. They were in the best physical health they ever could be. They had a well-established peer network. Actually, through the training and the investment of themselves, they had greater time management, life harmony, and communication skills. And again, the desire to continue growing because they felt that fulfillment, that satisfaction, and they were proud of themselves, and they wanted to keep understanding themselves, and they wanted to keep going. So again, that map might go this way, it might go that way. As long as it continues forward, right, we see the benefit here. Bring back game night with family. Reminding ourselves of the little achievements, absolutely. Goes back to another thing that Jamie said earlier about celebration, right? Celebration is so important. We need to be celebrating ourselves along the way, right? And not being too hard on ourselves, giving ourselves a pat on the back. Every single thing that we do that is a new activity, a new challenge, let's recognize it as that, right? And absolutely give yourself praise for taking that step, for taking the step to be out of your comfort zone. And even if it didn't work out, still celebrate yourself because that was something that you'd never done before. And understanding a little bit more about yourself, even if it was not exactly how you expected to turn out, is a good thing. Okay, and this last example could be a sterile processor. And here, again, our legacy might be helping increase the use of eco-friendly products and processes, and ultimately helping provide a safer, healthier environment for people to live in. And here in this Discovering Clarity, we had a values exercise, maybe a career assessment, a strengths exercise. And in the investment this individual decided to take was to have board presence, volunteer, further their education. They actually invested in a public speaking mentor because this individual maybe saw something in their future based on their strengths. Local and national travel was something that was really important to them. So they figured out a way to incorporate that into their life. And then they partnered with a local chamber and implemented a local assessment to understand a little bit more about the environment they lived in. And as you can see, the results here were that they became a board advisor, an educator, and trainer. They published a white paper. They gained a national peer network. They had a validation towards their legacy because all of the things that they learned, there might be some that didn't work out as expected, and that's okay, but the things that they decided to keep going for really felt special to them. And it really was a connected piece to the puzzle of their map. They maybe started a nonprofit supporting clean air and waterways and the desire to continue growing. Again, that desire to continue growing is always a foundation when an individual takes this journey. Okay, so to wrap it up today, what is one thing? I'm very curious for each of you, based on everything that we've learned here and the journey that you might have written out as we went through all of these various tools and exercises. What is one thing you can do this month to continue your growth journey? Now, think back to some of those examples. Think back to the strengths you identified in Jamie's presentation. What is something that you can act upon that will activate and continue your personal growth journey? What ideas do you have? Focus on mental health. Very nice. Very good. Get back into school. Fantastic. And I'm hoping, some of the research and the benefits that were shared today really help excite you and motivate you towards that journey. I think it's very easy for us to become comfortable. And, at some stages of our lives, it makes sense to take a pause and take a step, instead of always moving forward. And that's okay. And that's something that we need to consider. Let's see, lots of things coming in. 10 more webinars, finishing the next certification. Absolutely. Taking a trip to the Caribbean. Yes, I think we all would like to do that with you. Continuing to push yourself. Don't allow negativity to enter. Yes. Use your resources. Network more and continue learning. Wow, I love all of these are fantastic. CIS certification. Meditate once a day. Wonderful. All of these are really, really great. Outsource resources. Yeah, absolutely. Right. So based on you and who you are as an individual, each of these are going to be your own, right? No one else's. Based on who you are, where you see yourself in the future, where you see yourself a month from now versus 12 months from now versus 5 years and maybe even 50 years, right? Again, knowing that journey is not always linear, and knowing that based on your experiences, your continuous growth journey will change based on what you learn about yourself, and what you enjoy doing. Make sure to use the resource. Yes, absolutely. Lots of great things here. So I know that we have only a couple more minutes. I really appreciate the engagement today. I'm hoping that you have greater insight and perspective into the benefits of continuous growth, and maybe some things that you as an individual can do to take a first step, or even maybe if it's the 20th step, because everybody is different and everybody has their own journey. But I appreciate it. I thank you for the time. I'm honored to be a part of this today. And again, thank you for the engagement.
This was a fantastic presentation. Thank you, Brooke. We did get a lot of people putting comments in the Q&A talking about educating and branching out and learning just new things. Even, professionally, maybe you always work in a specific area, but maybe branching out and learning that other part of the department that you don't always do. Or if you're in the OR and you always do orthopedics, like I did, maybe learning that ENT specialty or general surgery, but growing that brain and learning new things. It's a very good reminder that how much that helps us. But there was even good comments about just learning new things at cooking or learning bird sounds or anything that just benefits us as a well-rounded person. Was wonderful. It was very good presentation. And yes, guys, thank you, all of you, guys and gals. Thank you for your engagement. It always makes these sessions so much more helpful when we hear from you. But you can connect with Brooke via email or LinkedIn for any follow-up questions or comments that you may have. You can see her contact information in the presenter bio down there box down there on the bottom of your screen. And we are going to have a 15-minute break. But you will automatically be redirected to the next session, so you don't need to worry about that. We will return in 15 minutes with our next speaker, but thank you. Thank you, Brooke, for joining us. Thank all of you for being here. You have made this session so good today, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you all.
Thank you.